Hey everyone, sorry it has been a while since the last video. The exhaustion is very real. Going to try to get more of these out. Thank you to everyone who has checked in on me over the last 2 weeks. I was being pulled, with my back facing in the direction of the pull and my face facing the earth. I don't recall seeing the earth. It was a knowing that I was leaving it. It was not that I was in a tunnel. It was that a tunnel was created around me due to the incredible speed at which I was traveling. I think about it when I see the white marks that a high-speed jet leaves across the sky. The jet created the marks. It is the same. There is no fear whatsoever in this experience, even though at this point, there was an unknowing of what was happening. It was at this time that I realized I had left my body, that I was dead. I didn't care that this had happened. I was peaceful. The traveling began to slow, and I had a sense that I was arriving somewhere. There were 6 spirits there, and I could see them, wearing the clothes of their day on earth. 5 were males. 1 was a female. I did not know any of them from this life. I knew instantaneously that they all loved me deeply, unconditionally, and knew me thoroughly. I think of them now as my greeting party, who came out to meet me at a designated point. I had no thoughts regarding this at the time. I was peaceful, happy, and free. They engulfed me in unconditional love. Everything there is laid bare. There is no shame, guilt, or deceit. It's not possible there. There is total understanding without even experiencing the thought of needing to understand. It is already there. Total understanding in perfect clarity. I have to elaborate on this because it is an important difference between our physical reality and the true, after-physical death reality. There, at this place, outside of the physical body, everything that you are, feel, think, and believe is clear for anyone to see, feel, and understand with perfect clarity. It was not what I did in my physical life that mattered most. It was who I was, who I am inside, my soul, that was more important than any physical thing I did. In other words, it was only who I was at the time, in terms of my soul, that was most important. That's not to say that all of my life experiences had not significantly contributed to the person I was. They had. The impact of physical actions on the soul cannot be lessened. It's hard to explain. It's as if I might think that I could do bad things or have bad thoughts about others, and it would be okay, as long as I remained a beautiful person inside. This is wrong. It does change your soul, and there's nothing one can do to change that. Physical actions weren't as important as the person, me, that those experiences had created. This is what the emphasis is on when viewing another in this dimension. Now, I couldn't see what the spirits who had greeted me had done in their physical lives. I could see, feel, and understand with perfect clarity who they were inside, just as they could see me. All of this happens with feelings, thoughts, that occur simultaneously at incredible speed. I could see the mouths moving as they were speaking, but I did not hear the way we hear in the physical world. The element of time, as we know it in physical life, does not exist. For instance, one of the souls who greeted me said to another soul, in a slow, pleading, pausing way, this sentence: "She's been through so much, and she should be allowed to stay." In physical terms, this would take 15 seconds to say, at the speed with which he said it. However, it doesn't take time there. It's instantaneous, even though I know this sounds strange. The feeling of time is realized by an individual in communication, but time doesn't exist in physical terms. It is the most wonderful language. Clear, perfectly understood, perfectly liberating, and perfectly perfect. I never heard a tone that could identify a specific voice. It's not like that. The tone is there. It's a tone that identifies a specific soul, not something that's physically audible. Now, this is going to be hard for you to comprehend, so I'm going to try hard. Everything is happening at once, or overlapping at best. Imagine having 1,000 things and people talking at the same moment, and perfectly understanding every detail of all that's going on. I could understand all 6 souls speaking at the same time with perfect clarity, as well as knowing the purest depths of their hearts, and a multitude of other things happening, and information that I was privileged to receive, all at the same instant. There are no doubts about what is said because of the dynamics of the form of communication, souls laid bare, plus you feel it, and know it's the truth, and I never question it. There's no need to. I know instinctively that it's the true form of communication. I instantly feel I've been freed from all the limitations of physical bondage. You feel that you are finally home, where you belong. Now, I never had a memory that this place was home. It was more of an instinctive and intuitive knowing that this is where I belonged. Doubts don't exist there. They're not possible. Everything is clear knowledge. The greatest emphasis of this experience is love. I am so totally engulfed with a love that does not exist in our physical world. No matter how deep a love you feel for your children, it does not compare with this love. This love is the purest, truest, deepest, totally unconditional love that you could ever imagine. Now, I realize you may be saying, "That's what I feel for my children." I'd say that too, but it goes way beyond what these words can describe. And I think this is because it is communicated to you in the form of feelings. It knocks your socks off. When I received this love, it is not comprehended by my mind. It is felt by the soul. And that immense feeling of this perfect love shoots straight into your heart as a feeling that you experience. It can bring your soul to its knees, in a sense, with a quick swoosh of sensation. Now, this is not overwhelming in a bad way. It is overwhelming in the best way imaginable. Once you have a taste of it, you will forever be changed. It is total bliss, what you've always wanted, and then so much more. I was awestruck that I was so loved. I still am, and I forever will be. A great light exists that I was compelled to move into. I was not able to. From a distance, I'd liken this light to those seen in a picture of the sun, with its rays emanating. The light is shorter in width at its origin when it is far away, and the rays spread out the further they travel from the source. The closer the light is to you, the wider its point of origin becomes, until it is so close that its point of origin lights up your entire viewing screen. This light is the source of the knock your socks off love, which is probably why my instinct says, "More, please, I'm going there." Now, that is not to say that I did not feel immense love from the individual souls that I encountered. I did. And the love they held for me was enough to fully saturate any human being for a lifetime. It's just that when I became aware that there was more love that was even greater, along with a realization that this source of love was even closer to me in terms of relation, I wanted it most. It was as though the entity emitting that incredible love for me knew me the best. The love was over the top in terms of what a mother or father feels for their child. So, in a sense, I was sort of drawn to my closest relative, even though there was no doubt it was not the type of relative we experience in the physical world. It nevertheless felt more real than any physical relationship. I think of this light now as God. I'm grateful that this light revealed its love for me in my death experience. I'll give you the details of the experience in human terms, although I believe these details are insignificant in comparison to the real and important aspects I have tried to explain. Upon arriving at the place where the 6 souls met me, they commenced in loving me via their thoughts, feelings. I felt free and wonderful. They had an extensive conversation among themselves at the same time that was about me being allowed to stay, where I do not know. But I was happy to stay right where I was at. There was a deep blue-colored, but not dark feeling, the universe around them. It was pleasant. There was no land. It was more like they had come to meet me in a place in the universe where there was no land. But it was not unnatural. Quite the contrary. It felt more natural than Earth. It felt right. I can still see their faces clearly in my memories. The consensus among them was that I should be allowed to stay. I was so happy. There was no way I was going back. No way. I had no doubts about that. I had been released from the limited prison of the physical body. My mind was 1,000 times sharper, free, and able to operate at full capacity, of which I was unaware before my death was possible. The love was incomparable. I would never go back willingly. At the same time, I viewed 1,000 images relating to the universe and simultaneous history. I was not able to comprehend all of them. However, I was granted full comprehension of life, with emphasis on the importance of living life as it is given, and that we are all part of one only. I was not a participant in the conversations that were ongoing about me. I was only an observer. Then the light drew closer, and everyone became aware of it, and their focus shifted to the light. There was a pause as everyone's attention was on the arriving light. A woman came into view, who was surrounded by the light, the entire visual screen. The other 6 souls were not surrounded by the light, only her. This is hard to describe. It's as though only when you looked at her did the entire screen of your vision fill with light. But when I look at the other souls, they are all surrounded by the blue, pleasant background. The woman, like the other souls, loved me deeply, even though she had a stern, disciplinarian look on her face. She was dressed in a much older style dress, black, with a matching bonnet. The dress covered every part of her, up to her neck. She was an older woman, with a rugged, weather-beaten face. She was staring straight at me with an unbroken stare. The other souls were pleading with her to allow me to stay. She said not one word, thought, feeling, but just continued to stare at me deeply, as if in deep analytical concentration. After the other souls had pleaded to their heart's content, there was a pause. She continued to stare at me, and then said, "She goes back." My heart dropped to the deepest bottom. I finally spoke for the first time, pleading, "No, no, please, no." She was firm. I gave her the heartfelt thought that I would not go. My emotions cried deeply. I would have to be forced. Then I realized that I was hovering above my body. Then next, a nurse packed ice on my chest and told me to wake up. I was naked, with no sheet. I looked at my body in disgust. I felt nothing for it. The nurse gently, but aggravatingly, poked my left arm twice, while saying, "Wake up." Next, I felt incredible pain, realizing I was back in my body. My heart dropped. I felt so let down to be back. The nurse realized I had come to. She repeated, "Open your eyes," several times. Then she started shoving small spoonfuls of ice chips in my mouth, instructing me that my fever was too high and that I needed to continually eat ice. She kept spooning it in until I passed out. That does it for Bobbi's NDE. Who do you think the 6 souls that judged her were? Who do you think the soul surrounded by light was? Let me know what you guys thought of her experience in the comment section below. Remember to be kind to each other. Not everyone is going to believe as you may. It is okay to disagree. Just do so respectfully. Until the next video, be blessed.